Hey everyone, it's Joe Beethoven, and I am finally back for another masterful review that is sure to reignite your love of video games and your joy for life. If those things don't happen, then it's probably because I'm reviewing Crossfire X. Yes, I know, maybe not the best game to come back with, maybe not the most exciting or well-liked, but I did promise this to you guys months ago, and I'm following through on that promise. All that said, let's get going reviewing this very mixed bag of a game that is also kind of a Remedy game, which is the only reason I'm actually reviewing it. The only reason I played it at all. Now, is it really a Remedy game? Is there any reason to consider it part of the Remedy library? Is it worth playing at all? What exactly is going on here? Why does this game exist? We're going to get into all of that. And hopefully you enjoy it, even though, yes, this game is not the best. Here we go. On with the review. So this video will be a review of the campaign, the story mode of Crossfire X, a campaign that is used to tie together all the lore of the long-standing first-person multiplayer online shooter that is Crossfire. The game is focused on tying together all these ideas behind the long-standing conflict between Global Risk and Blacklist, the two organizations fighting for world dominance because they both believe they have the right way to take care of the world. That's the basic idea, really. And for some reason, Remedy was brought in to write this game. And I don't mean for some reason as in like, that's a negative. I love Remedy. They do great things. But my first thought was that, is this really where Remedy belongs in a first-person shooter that is already established? They create worlds, they create characters, they create ideas. Is this really what Remedy storytelling should be used for? Does it really work with this kind of game? Well, the answer is mostly no, with a few sprinkles of yes in there a couple of times throughout the two campaigns of this game. So we're going to dive right in, and I don't think this is going to be too long because there's really not that much to say about this game, but I am going to try and accentuate the positives so you can know there are things I enjoyed about this game, but also warning you there's plenty not to like here. There are plenty of reasons for you never to touch this game. So, for starters, we have Operation Catalyst, which focuses on the global risk side of the conflict, the quote-unquote good guys of this seemingly never-ending war. A few soldiers from Global Risk are sent on a mission that, in typical fashion goes horribly wrong. The team is made up of Kavanaugh, Hall, Morales, and Randall. Now, during the start of this mission, when everything's falling apart, Kavanaugh seemingly gets killed, and Hall is then left in charge. So Hall, we find out, is actually Kavanaugh's brother-in-law, and this is not really a complaint or a flaw, but the two of them look way too much alike. You would assume they were twins. Turns out they're not even related at all. Brothers-in-law. Which is just really confusing because they have practically the same face, but that's whatever. That's a different kind of complaint. Anyway. So the first campaign, Operation Catalyst, doesn't really have a lot of story. It's just pretty standard first-person shooter. Go to this location, complete this objective, do this, do that, shoot that guy. And the characters of Hall, Morales, and Randall are fine, but they just don't really get any real fleshing out over the course of this very short campaign. Hall gets a little bit of time because of his relationship with Kavanaugh, but that's not enough. It's not enough time. There are some very Remedy-esque dream sequences, including live-action stuff on TV, but these moments feel kind of shoehorned in to show you that Remedy wrote this, at least, contributed to it, and they don't actually feel natural. They don't feel like they really add to Hall's character or really fill out the story in any major way. The story essentially turns into two objectives, though. The objectives are to acquire the Catalyst, a device that can seemingly show the future and is showing this future conflict that could destroy the world, and rescue, yes, spoiler alert, Kavanaugh, who turns out to be alive. Big shocker there. Anyway, the three heroes of our story continue on this mission, trying to find the information they need, acquire the targets, that sort of thing. Lots of really obvious dialogue, lots of really obvious moments, even an obvious quote-unquote twist betrayal near the end. There's just not a lot going on here in this first campaign. Other than the forced dream sequences, anyone could have written this. Any Call of Duty writer, any Medal of Honor writer. It just doesn't feel that special. That's really disappointing, because if Remedy was to be brought in to do this, you would think they would do something special, but the truth is they didn't. There's just not much going on here. Graphically, it's fine. Voice acting is fine, but the story itself is just so thin and basic that you're not really going to remember it. You're not going to remember the characters. I had to look up their names again before doing this. Operation Catalyst is really just a big disappointment to me because I love Remedy. They're the top for me, but Operation Catalyst is pretty much rock bottom. But then we have the genuine surprise of Crossfire X, which is Operation Spectre. Now hold on for this one, because this campaign is actually really good. Out of nowhere. It's like Remedy completely forgot who they were for one of the campaigns, and then we're like, oh wait, that's right, we're Remedy. We did Max Payne, we did Quantum Break, we did Control, we did Alan Wake. We could do this, and brought not exactly their A game, but a solid B+ game to Operation Spectre. This second story focuses on real characters who get genuine development, has way better set pieces, and actual cutscene storytelling that goes throughout the campaign, not just a couple of times, and actually kind of invests you in what's going on. I ended up being Team Blacklist by the end of this over Global Risk, because honestly, the soldiers of Blacklist felt like real people, while Global Risk people did not feel like people. The truth is, though, that on both sides of the conflict, the bad guys are really the commanding officers, the top brass, and the soldiers are just doing their best, so there aren't any real good guys or bad guys. They're just people doing their best with the situation at hand. But in Blacklist's case, in the case of Operation Spectre, I really connected with these people. I connected with Logan as the first protagonist. He's super cool and actually really effective as a character, and the subtle development between him and the second protagonist, Lewis, is really well done, and the subtle way they reveal the truth of their relationship through different collectibles you can find and different conversations throughout, it actually really worked for me. It led to really cool moments, and the gameplay felt more fun because I was actually propelled forward to see the next story reveal, the next character moment, the next cool fight cutscene. I actually really liked this second campaign. It felt like authentic Remedy. Not the best it's ever been in terms of, writing, but honestly, they actually really tried with this one, and it paid off with a really fun, entertaining, and oddly engrossing second campaign that also felt more like Remedy as it dives deeper into the Catalyst's ability to show the future, how this affects different characters, specifically Lewis and his destiny to maybe become, slight spoiler here, the destroyer of the world. I'm not going to go into any more details than that, except for the fact that he puts on an awesome ghost suit that makes him invisible and gives a whole new type of gameplay for the last 20 minutes or so of the campaign. Fine, yes, I'm going spoilers. Spoilers. It's so awesome. This last sequence, it is a payoff to everything that has been set up over the course of this campaign, and you feel like the story earns this moment where Lewis accepts what he is. It doesn't say for sure that he's going to destroy the world, but he does accept his identity as the ghost, and it works for me. It actually does. This moment is really cool. The gameplay is awesome in this final sequence, and it really feels like a payoff to his interactions with the characters, with Logan and the rest of his team. And it also highlights that idea that I talked about earlier, that no one is really a bad guy. The commanding officer, sure, but everyone's just doing their best to fight for what they believe is right. And that's what Lewis does in the end. He focuses on what he believes is right. And I really appreciate that. He's a pretty cool Remedy protagonist, and I would love to see more of him. However, Operation Spectre does wrap it up with a classic, abrupt Remedy ending that is super confusing. I'm really frustrated, which is why I really want to see if they ever do another campaign with these characters, with these ideas. I would actually like to see a more fleshed out Crossfire campaign, a single campaign with these characters where Remedy really gets the chance to work their magic, because the potential is there, and I'm really bummed that they didn't get the chance to really go for it. They did for a few hours with Operation Spectre, and there are flashes of greatness, but if it could have been more fleshed out and given more time, this game really could have been something special. As it stands right now, with the first campaign and the second campaign combined, it averages out to serviceable, which is a bummer. Now we come to what is sure to be a pretty short section of this review, the gameplay. Honestly, there's not much to say. It's a first-person shooter. You can shoot people, you can aim, you can slide, which is like a big thing in first-person shooters nowadays. Each character has the ability to bullet time, kind of similar to Max Payne. It's never, really explained why they can do this. Of course, it wasn't really explained in Max Payne, but it feels kind of out of place here for some reason. Maybe that's just me. And to be honest, the gameplay is actually below average. The shooting is not very accurate. It feels very floaty. It feels like when you've hit people, you still miss. And of course, the melee isn't that accurate, and it just doesn't feel like it really comes together. There are aspects of the gameplay that are quite fun. It almost feels like the gameplay is better in the second campaign, but that could just be because I enjoyed the story a lot more. But it just doesn't quite live up to other first-person shooters, other higher-tier games. And that's a disappointment because that means there's almost nothing going for this. You can't really enjoy the story all the way, and the gameplay is pretty lackluster. I will say the guns have a bit of variety. The kick to them feels pretty good. I definitely had guns that I preferred, which I think is a good thing in a first-person shooter, to have a loadout that you prefer. But the guns still have it in common that they don't feel very accurate. They don't feel like they hit when they should. So even though I might have guns I prefer, the truth is that they all kind of suck. So, there you go. So what's the verdict? Crossfire X is pretty much the definition of a proverbial mixed bag, alright? There's so much that they tried and failed at, but there are also a few dashes of Remedy greatness in there in the second campaign that almost saved the game for me, to be honest. I could actually see myself replaying Operation Spectre, but never Operation Catalyst. And honestly, I would never replay Spectre for the gameplay purposes. I would just do it because I actually do like those characters. I do enjoy that version of this story. Overall, though, it is a game with lackluster gameplay, disappointing narrative and characters, and only a few moments where you truly feel like you're invested, where you truly feel like this could have been really cool. But overall, Crossfire X is a big disappointment from Remedy. Of course, they were just the writers. They did the best they could with what I'm assuming was pretty lackluster material. They had to work in this world, and clearly it was not built for Remedy-style storytelling, at least not the peak of Remedy-style storytelling. So I'm going to give Operation Catalyst a 6, maybe even a 5.5, but probably a 6, and Operation Spectre an 8, which actually averages out to a 7.25, but I feel like that's too high for the game, so I'm going to go lower, even though it goes against the average, and give the overall experience a 6.5, because the gameplay underlies both campaigns, and in both cases, it's not that great until you become the ghost at the end of Operation Spectre, but it's a little too late at that point. So Crossfire X definitely ends up being a disappointing experience, especially from Remedy. It gets a 6.5 from me, and if I were to rank it with the Remedy games, of course, it would go dead last. There's a lot to enjoy in Operation Spectre in terms of storytelling, but it's still not enough to save the first campaign or the general lack of good gameplay. It's just not enough. Overall, this game, I didn't have that high of expectations, but it still is a disappointment because I thought Remedy could give us a little bit more, but I don't know. They have other stuff going on. I would prefer that they focus on Alan Wake 2 and making that the best it could be, so maybe they just did what they could with this, but it's still a little disappointing to me. Alright, that was video review number 12, and it feels good to be back. Again, hopefully. Seriously, life just keeps catching up with me. There's a lot going on. I really hope I can stay consistent this time. I want to get my Uncharted ranking out there, my Final Fantasy 13 project out there, my Alan Wake project out there, and I'm even in the middle of working on my Quarry review. The Quarry is a lot of fun. It's not as good as Until Dawn so far, I will put that out there, but it is picking up the pace. I'm not going to go into it right now. I'm excited to see how it stacks up to Until Dawn, which is one of my favorite games ever. I might even do a compare and contrast video, or at least a review of Until Dawn to really show you how much I love it and to show why The Quarry might not live up to it, but it might. Who knows? The Quarry might stick the landing. We'll see what happens. I'm still really excited to review it. Point is, there's a lot coming, a lot of new content that I'm really hoping to get out there soon. So please, if you like the video, be sure to give it a like, share it, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming Masterful content. Please comment below if you want to talk about this game, if you're one of like the 5 people that have played it, or whatever game you're playing right now. If you're playing The Quarry too, give me your thoughts. No spoilers, please. I haven't quite finished it, but how are you enjoying it so far? And if you've played Until Dawn, how do you think The Quarry stacks up to it? I want to hear all about it. Let me know in the comments section. Alright, that's all for now. God bless you guys. I'll catchphrase you later, and this mantra will always keep me going. Alan Wake 2 is coming. Bye!